Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be looking into the unit roster of Paris. His roster focuses on range superiority in battle and brings in some of the best archers combined with a good defensive line and some quick axe units. This video will serve as a guide for determining what units to bring to the battlefield and how to use them. First up, we have the Militia Warband. They are lightweight spear and shield infantry with an upkeep cost of 90 food. These are the lowest tier units and can be considered cannon fodder of the roster. However, they have decent armor and are shielded with 35% missile block chance, decent morale, high speed, low melee attack of 16, but good melee defense at 34, fairly low damage, but they do bonus damage versus large units. These guys should be used like any other cannon fodder units, send them into the frontline engagement before the main frontline clashes, or use them to chase down missile infantry. Trojan Warriors. They are lightweight, two-handed club infantry with an upkeep cost of 80 food. They have fairly low armor, decent morale, high speed, melee attack of 22, and a low melee defense of 16. Fairly low damage as well. Charge bonus is 24, so they can be utilized for cycle charging the enemy flanks or bolstering your frontline engagement. Next up, we have the Phrygian Axemen. These are medium weight axe and shield infantry with an upkeep cost of 140 food. They are considered experts in flanking and have good armor piercing values. Decent armor with 40% missile block chance. Good morale, speed is average, fairly decent melee attack, and good melee defense, good damage at 72, low charge bonus. These guys should be used to flank the enemy frontline engagement, or you can use them to clash with some heavily armored infantry to get some good value from such a low cost unit. Now we have the Shielded Spear Warriors. These are medium weight spear and shield infantry with an upkeep cost of 180 food. They have strong vigor, can switch to two-handed spears if necessary. They have high armor with a missile block chance of 55%, high morale, decent speed, 28 melee attack, and 46 melee defense with a damage of 90 with bonus versus large units. These guys should be used as your frontline unit until you can afford more expensive ones. The Phrygian Warriors. These guys are a lightweight two-handed axe infantry with an upkeep cost of 170 food. They are quite unique as they cause fear and have increased melee combat bonuses when flanking. Armor is fairly low, morale is high, high speed, good melee attack and melee defense, high damage with good armor piercing value, decent charge bonus. These guys should definitely be used to charge the flanks of the enemy front line. Flanking combined with their ability to cause fear will quickly rout many enemy frontline units. Here we have the renowned Phrygian Axemen. These are heavyweight axe and shield infantry with an upkeep cost of 145 food and 35 bronze. They are heavily armored and have a 55% missile block chance, high morale, low speed, decent melee combat stats with bonus damage against spearmen and swordsmen. They also have access to 2 volleys of armor-piercing missiles. These guys have all the traits of an excellent frontline unit and should be used as such. On the plus side, they are pretty cheap for what they provide. The Heavy Trojan Spearmen. These are heavyweight spear and shield infantry with an upkeep cost of 150 food and 40 bronze. Very high armor and a huge missile block chance of 75%. High morale, low speed, decent melee attack, but high melee defense. High damage with bonus versus large units, swordsmen and axemen. They also have the ability to switch to two-handed spears. These guys are another excellent frontline unit. They are a little more expensive and should be placed on the flanks of the frontline formation. Lastly, for the melee infantry units, we have the Champions of Troy. They are heavyweight spear and shield infantry with an upkeep cost of 170 food and 55 bronze. Very high armor and a huge missile block chance of 85%. High morale, low speed, decent melee attack, and high melee defense of 64. High damage of 125 with bonus damage versus large units, swordsmen, and axemen. They also provide a morale bonus to nearby allies, immune to psychology, and can fire armor-piercing missiles while moving. These guys are the most expensive unit of this roster. They should be used for the center point of your frontline formation if you have these in your army. Now we are moving on to the range portion of the roster, which is where Paris shines. First of the missile units, we have the Light Skirmishers. These are lightweight javelin infantry with an upkeep cost of only 80 food, low armor, decent morale, fairly high speed, terrible melee combat stats. They have 15 ammunition, 100 range, and 20 missile damage with good armor piercing value. These guys can be quite cost effective considering they have the cheapest missile infantry and have armor piercing. Use these guys to quickly move to the enemy flanks and fire at them. These are a very good missile unit if used properly. Now we have the Slingers, a lightweight slinger infantry with an upkeep cost of 130 food, low armor, decent morale, fairly high speed, 28 ammunition, 170 range, and 25 missile damage. Due to their large range, these guys should be used to take out enemy missile infantry. Make sure to fire at the lightly armored missile infantry in order to be cost effective. Here are the Archers. They are a lightweight bow infantry with an upkeep cost of 125 food, low armor, decent morale, fairly high speed, 28 ammunition, 150 range, and 27 missile damage. These are basic missile infantry and should be used mainly for firing into lightly armored units. The renowned Trojan Slingers. These guys are a medium-weight slinger infantry with an upkeep cost of 150 food, decent armor with 35% missile block chance, good morale and speed, 28 ammunition, huge range of 180, and a high missile damage of 37. These guys are very effective against missile infantry as well. They are decently armored and shielded, so they can win against most missile infantry. Next, we have the renowned Archers. They are medium bow infantry with an upkeep cost of 130 food and 20 bronze. Good armor and high morale, decent speed, 30 ammunition, 160 range, and 29 missile damage. These are basic missile infantry and should be used to fire at the enemy missile infantry it outranges, or provide supportive fire on the front lines. It is also good to use any missile infantry to fire at units that are running away. Exemplary Trojan Slingers. These are a medium-weight slinger infantry with an upkeep cost of 185 food. They have high armor and a 35% missile block chance, high morale, good melee combat stats so they can hold their own against basic melee infantry, 30 ammunition, a huge range of 190, and very high missile damage of 54. This is a very strong missile unit. They can easily outrange most range units in Troy and should fire into any missile units it outranges. They can also be used to provide supportive fire on the front lines. Now we have the Trojan Nobles. These are some of the best range units in the game. They are a medium-weight bow infantry with an upkeep cost of 140 food and 40 bronze. They have high armor and morale with decent speed, decent melee combat stats, 30 ammunition, 165 range, and 40 missile damage with decent armor-piercing value. They also have the ability to fire while moving. This makes this unit quite devastating on the battlefield. They can effectively fire from behind the front lines and quickly move towards the flanks of the enemies to fire at their backs. As they move to the flanks, they will continue to unleash volleys into the enemies. Be sure to properly utilize this unit's ability to fire while moving, and they will generate great value on the battlefield. Lastly, we have the Trojan Princes, the highest tier of Paris's missile roster. They are medium-weight bow infantry that can also shoot while moving. They have an upkeep cost of 180 food and 20 bronze, have very high armor and morale with decent speed, excellent melee combat stats, 30 ammunition, 180 range, and huge missile damage of 60 with decent armor-piercing value. Utilize these units the same way as the Nobles. Quickly move them into position to fire at the flanks of the enemy front lines if possible, or keep them behind your front line to provide supportive fire. Of the first three heroes we covered, Paris is the first to have more than just the basic chariot units. Here is a new chariot unit we haven't seen yet, the heavy Trojan Chariots. They are a heavyweight two-handed spear chariot with an upkeep cost of 200 food and 40 bronze. They have high armor and morale, high speed, decent melee combat stats with bonus versus large. They have a huge charge bonus of 60. You should just use these guys for psycho-charging and do not leave them in prolonged combat. Archer Chariots. These are a lightweight bow chariot unit with an upkeep cost of 180 food. They have fairly low armor but high morale, very high speed of 88, decent melee combat stats, 50 ammunition, 120 range, and 54 missile damage. These guys should be kept on skirmishing mode and move them around the flanks of the enemy front lines. You can also use these guys to disrupt the enemy missile units. Last of the chariots, we have the Trojan Noble Chariots. They are a medium-weight bow chariot unit with a massive upkeep of 200 food and 80 bronze. They have very high armor and morale, high speed, decent melee combat stats, high charge bonus, 50 ammunition, 130 range, and 77 missile damage. You should use these guys the same way as the Archer Chariots, keep them in skirmishing mode, and move them around the flanks of the enemy front lines. Lastly, we have the Mythic Units. First, we have the Giant Vanguard. They are lightweight class club and shield infantry. They have very low armor, but have 6% missile block chance, decent morale and high speed, melee attack of 32 and melee defense of 22, but they have a very high damage of 200. They also do bonus damage to large units and have decent charge bonus. These guys should be mixed in with your front line to make sure you win the frontline battle, or they can flank the enemy front line with their high speed of 52. These guys also have Vanguard deployment, so you can deploy them far in the forest to give them the opportunity to flank the front lines when they clash. Next, we have the Giant Bowmen. These guys are a lightweight bow infantry. They have decent armor and high morale, good speed, decent melee combat stats, a high damage of 200 with bonus versus large units, 28 ammunition, 160 range, and a huge missile damage of 122 with decent armor piercing value. They also cause fear. These guys are insanely strong missile infantry. They should be used to fire into heavily armored units if possible. Last for the Giants, we have the Giant Champions. These are heavyweight, two-handed club infantry. They have high armor and morale with good speed, very high melee attack of 62, and 28 melee defense. These guys are extremely high damage at 384 with good armor piercing values and high charge bonus. They cause fear to nearby enemy units and provide a morale bonus to nearby allies. They should definitely be mixed in with the frontline units due to their morale bonus for nearby infantry. And all should be noted that all giant units can be used to break down gates. Lastly, we have the Cyclops. This guy has Charger, a special missile weapon, causes terror, and is also good versus gates. The special missile weapon is a boulder toss, and they have another ability called Blind Rage, which gives the Cyclops negative 200% attack intervals, but plus 250 weapon damage, negative 10% melee attack, and negative 10% melee defense. With a low armor value of 10, they should avoid missile fire of any kind. They have a very high morale of 90 and good speed at 55, a whopping 58 melee attack but fairly low melee defense of 25. Damage is extremely high at 1396 with decent armor piercing value. Charge bonus is also very high at 50, so he will definitely pack a punch on the initial charge. This is in no way the best army composition, but it is well-rounded and should be able to outperform many armies you encounter. We're going to have 6 shielded spear warriors, 2 Phrygian axemen, 2 Phrygian warriors, 3 light skirmishers, 3 renowned Trojan slingers, and 3 renowned archers. Alright, so now we're going to go over the basic army formation for Paris. We're going to have our 6 shielded spear warriors in the center, 3 renowned archers in the front to get off their initial volleys, 3 renowned Trojan slingers in the back. These guys will be used to fire at the enemy missile infantry. Our 3 light skirmishers will be on the flanks, hidden. Typically on the maps you want to hide them in the woods somewhere or in some shrubs or tall grass. We have our 2 Phrygian axemen on the flanks. These guys can either be used to intercept flanking units or they can move around to flank the enemy front line. Then we have the 2 Phrygian warriors. These guys cause fear, so you can either use them to bolster your front lines, or you can move them around to flank as well. And then we have Paris here in the middle. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative for your Paris campaign. If you have a request on which hero guide you want next, leave it in a comment below. Also, make sure you drop a like and subscribe for more.